Hey guys, Brendan Bradford here from Sporting News. I'm with Billy Dib, former world champion. We're here to break down, analyse and react to Teofimo Lopez's upset win over Vasiliy Lomachenko for all the lightweight titles. Not too many people were predicting that Lopez was going to get a win, let alone take Vasiliy Lomachenko to a decision. Billy Dib, what did you make of it?
Man, I just thought it was a great fight. I definitely feel that with Loma being out of the ring for so long, and you could definitely see that. That's what I felt. I felt like it took him a long time to get started. Once he did get started, I sort of felt like it was a bit too late. Lopez had built up great momentum, and he's just a supremely confident guy, isn't he? He's so confident in his ability, and he really backs himself, so you got to give him props for that.
Lomachenko barely threw a punch in the first 4 rounds. I mean, we know he's had this long layoff, but really didn't think it would take him that long to get into the fight.
Yeah, I mean, look, to me, to be quite honest with you, I never felt like he was in the fight, to be honest. I feel like, it's if Lopez wasn't doing what he was doing, then Loma would definitely be in the fight. But, I mean, Lopez was keeping him off with that jab, fast hands. The 1-2 was just sensational down the middle. And the counter uppercut was again another great punch. I think Loma knew that Lopez was pretty heavy-handed, and he didn't want to gamble too much. You saw in the last round he sort of hurt Loma with a couple of good shots in the last round. So I think Loma was being smart, you know what I mean. But you're outscored, you're out punched the whole fight. So I'm not sure what he was thinking.
And by the time they both stepped into the ring, it certainly looked like Lopez was a more natural lightweight, whereas you sort of could feel just by looking at them that Lomachenko was a guy that had come up to lightweight.
Definitely, you could definitely see the size difference. Without going overboard, but it was more of like a smaller guy versus a bigger guy. It was sort of looked like me versus me. Just Lopez had the size and the difference. It was awesome. He looked like a specimen there today, obviously after making weight yesterday, but then today he's like obviously bulked back up, put the weight on. He actually looked really good. But I just feel like, all in all, I just feel like Lopez was just a step above. He was so confident going into the fight. I think he may have got into Lomachenko's head a little bit. And then the other thing is that with Loma being out for so long, that definitely must have played a part in the fight, for sure.
Yeah, you just sort of hope that sort of going forward. I mean, a lot of people are going to say, Lomachenko was off or Lomachenko didn't do this. You just sort of hope that Lopez does get his credit, because everything that Lomachenko usually does and tries to do, nothing was working. And that was, like you say, Lopez bullying him, too big, too powerful.
I definitely feel like if they fought again 5 times in the same situation at lightweight, I think each time Lopez is going to win each one of them. He's just too big. He wasn't scared. He traded punches. He threw punches to the body. He had fast hands. His plan was to hit Loma to the body, and he executed that really. I feel like he landed some really crisp body shots. And in lead up to the fight, he was saying that nobody ever goes to the body for Loma. They're all trying to headhunt him, and he's too much of a good mover. But the body doesn't move. As good a mover as you are, the body doesn't move. In order for Loma to avoid the body shots, he had to sort of throw himself back, which he saw him do a few times. And then one time he threw himself back, and he ended up getting hit with low blow because he sort of jumped into the low blow. But I just look. It's a great performance. You got to give Lopez his props. Him and his dad did a great job. I mean, they took the fight in the whole situation of the whole COVID situation. No fans. They may have been probably underpaid, because there wouldn't have been a lot of money in it for them in regards to the fans not being there. Because obviously there's more revenue generated when there's fans there. So, with no fans in the building, I'm sure they would have taken a pay cut, but you got to give them props, man. There's only one champ now, and that's Lopez.
And no pay-per-view either. A good win for fight fans all around the world that it was, pretty much free to wear.
Yeah. How good is that? If you got Foxtel, you can watch the fight. That was awesome.
And so what's next for Lopez? Obviously, we know George Kambosos in 2 weeks from today is fighting Lee Selby, which we're told that's going to be essentially a number 1 contender fight. But I don't know whether the contracts for Loma Lopez, there was a rematch clause or anything. But What's next for Teofimo Lopez?
Well, as you said, then he's now the main holder of all them 4 belts. There's going to be a lot of people chasing the belts now, and he's going to need to defend. It's very hard, when you become undisputed champion, it's very, very hard to hold onto all the belts because there's so many other guys coming up and people that need opportunities. You got to, face your mandatory challenges and stuff like that. So it's very hard to maintain all the belts. But I just definitely feel that, there's great fights out there for him. Definitely Devin Haney fight. There's Garcia. I don't really see the Kambosos fight happening, to be honest with you. I feel like if Kambosos does beat Selby, then I think you may see Lopez just vacate the title because there's nothing in it for him. Like, what's the fight against Kambosos going to do for him? This guy's now a superstar. He's only 23, but he's a bona fide boxing superstar overnight. And now, like, there's going to be some really big fights to be made. Like fights against Devin Haney and Garcia, they're going to be money fights. Fighting Kambosos is going to be another fight. But that's even if Kambosos wins. Kambosos in against a really, really difficult fight. It's not going to be an easy fight for him against Selby. Selby's not just going to lay down and give him the win.
Yeah, certainly it seems like Teofimo Lopez versus Devin Haney is one of the big blockbuster fights to make over the next year or so.
I'll be honest with you. I don't feel that Devin Haney or any of these guys can give Lopez a challenge. Like, with all due respect to all these fighters who are working hard to try to get the opportunity, but even if Kambosos does beat Lee Selby, can he really beat Teofimo Lopez? What would the odds be on that? 100 to 1? 1,000,000 to 1? I don't know.
The only other thing from this fight, although I do think Teofimo Lopez won it and won it by a couple of rounds, but that 119-109 scorecard, bit dodgy there, in my opinion.
Yeah. Is that going to even really make a difference, though? Is the scorecard going to even make a difference? Look, at the end of the day, Andre Ward had it a draw. Like, what fight were you watching, Andre? You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't, like no disrespect to Andre, great fighter, but that wasn't a draw.
No.
In my opinion, Teofimo won that by at least 4 rounds. He was the comfortable winner. He won the last round and he won the first 6 or 7. So you got to give him 8-4.
And
at least 8-4. That's him.
And what do you see next for Lomachenko? Where does he go from here? Does he go back down?
Well, see, Lomachenko he's a legend of the sport. You know what I mean? Like, he's only had today was only his 16th pro fight, but he's definitely a legend of the sport. He can move back down. And he can get another opportunity at lightweight. There's so many other guys at lightweight that he could fight. But, I think the one thing that that Lopez has done now is he's shown people that this guy is beatable. Like, so many people thought he's unbeatable. Obviously, you got to give credit to Salido for winning that first fight, but that was his pro debut sort of thing. But in saying that, Salido beat him and tried to do it. Then, but Lomachenko got better. But then today, he just wasn't himself. He wasn't himself. And that's not because of him. That's just because how good Lopez was today. Lopez was just sharp, strong, fast, looking for the counter. All these other guys that he fought were really, like I said, just slow plotters, you know what I mean? Linares was on old legs, you know what I mean? So, these young guys are fresh. You got Javonte Davis. You got Garcia. All these guys just fresh as, mate. Great fighters. Well, the excitement that this is just gonna cause now is awesome. There's gonna be so many great fights that are gonna happen. But it's good to have an Australian in the mix. But what can he really do?
Billy Dib, thanks for joining me for wrapping up Lopez Lomachenko. See you next time.
Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it.